Hello and welcome to Career Talk. In today's very special Career Talk, I would like to introduce you to Laura Farrell, our new engagement manager here at the CCMA. Laura has recently joined the team and I know has already spent most of the first couple of weeks speaking to lots of our members already. So lots of you will already may have met Laura, but for those that have not so far, I wanted to invite Laura to really to come to join me today to share her career. Laura, welcome. So your role as engagement manager, hi. So for the purpose of the listeners, can you tell everyone what is involved in your role on a day-to-day basis?
So my role within the engagement manager is getting to know the members, talking to the members about what's up and coming for the remainder of the year, what support we can offer and what introductions we can offer to our members. So for any situations that they're facing, can we help them in any way? So really just have that full engagement with them.
And it's great. It's because it's for me, it's that tag teaming. I've been doing it on my own for the last 6 months. So it's really great that to be able to reach out to more of our members and to really talk about some of the great stuff that we do and to get them involved in some of the events. So absolutely, it feels like you've been with us for such a long time, but even though it's only been a couple of weeks.
It's been good, hasn't it? And I think that's the right word, isn't it? It's tag teaming and trying to get to all members. So trying to just get out there and let them know everything that we're doing. So it's been really good, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And it's great to have you. I think you feel like, say, you've settled really well. So talk me through your career then, from the start. From the start of your career up until your current role, what does your career look like? Tell the viewers a little bit about you.
Okay, so from school, I was always one of these girls that just wanted to go out and work. I just wanted school to finish so then I could work. And my career was all what I always wanted as a little girl was to be a hairdresser. So I made sure that was my aim. So when I was at school, then the school obviously ended. I went to work within a hairdresser's, and then I did a 1 day at college to actually be qualified. So that was the main aim. So I did that, became a stylist, loved colouring, wasn't so good at cutting, which was probably the main part of being a hairdresser. So I did a lot of the colouring side. So then I got an opportunity to go to London at a very young age. So I went along with a friend to basically said, do you want to come with me? And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I could go and be a hairdresser in London and just see what happens. So off I went at a really young bank account, didn't have much money in my pocket. I just thought, right, I'm going to give it a go. So I went to London and then found a couple of temp jobs to do a hairdressing just whilst I found somewhere. So I got a job within a barber's, never cut a man's hair in my life. So it was, again, just tried my hardest, did that for a couple of weeks until I found something permanent. And then my first job was working for a famous hairdresser, somebody that I followed from being a young girl, and I managed to get into the salon. But whilst I was working within the barbers, I realised hairdressing really isn't for me. I do really need to feel amazing about cutting somebody's hair. It's not just about colouring it. So when this job came up, came up to be the receptionist. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try that. I'm still in an industry that I really want to be a part of, but I'm now going to be front of house. Mm-hmm. So it was absolutely wonderful. I was in this amazing salon in Covent Garden and just living the dream. I had to go to a bank and set up a bank account. Everything was just so new to me. So then I stayed there for a couple of years, worked through and ended up then working for one of the main salons for the hairdresser. And that's when I came up against some famous people, which a young girl from Southport, seeing these people, it just blew my mind. So from that then, my friend worked for an American company, and it was like a telecoms communication company. So there's an opportunity came up to be a receptionist there. So I thought, well, that's a completely different industry. Where would that then take me? So I decided on going there. So I ended up being successful in the job, and it was very new. I walked into this building and it was huge. The amount of people at work there, it was just something that I've never experienced. And then I went from the receptionist then to become into the switchboard. And it was one of those old-fashioned switchboards. And again, something I've never seen before, but somehow managed to do it. And then following from there, I then decided to go and do some training outside of or everything that I've wanted to do. So I decided to learn legal secretary just to see if that's something that, do I want to go down that avenue? I just wanted to try something completely different. Passed the course, did it all, but then realised it wasn't for me. I still wanted to be a part of a customer journey in the contact centre. So I carried on at the company and then moved. Then another job came up, which it was just unreal. It was an American bank and the place was just incredible. I ended up having to do the event planning, which completely different industry. I've never done that. And it was just an unreal job. It was just planning from start to end. When I walked in there, you had to wear a tailored suit. It was just incredible. So I did that for a while. And then I decided a job came up within Sheffield. So I decided to move to Sheffield, a bit closer to home. I was getting a little bit homesick. So I thought a little bit closer. And it was for another company. Again, worked from doing just the admin side of stuff, and then worked my way up to service manager, which covered 3 sites, and it was 3,000 calls a day. So I worked my way up to that position. Again, a different industry, but still somehow being a part of a customer journey. So again, that really gave me a lot of confidence, and I did a lot within that role. So they were moving some of the resource was going over to India. So I was a part of that. And it was just, again, an unreal job. And then I decided I needed to come back home. I just wanted to be back in Southport, be back with my family. My sister had a baby. I wanted to be more involved with her. And I just decided I've done enough of what I need to do and just to come home. Then I spent 16 years at an insurance company, which I just loved. I did every role possible. So I did at the start, I did the contact centre, and then I went into in-house claims. I became a team leader, looked after the broker function as well as the customer. I did MPPI, I did accident sickness claims. I did advised sales, retention, non-advised. I did every role possible within those 16 years. And again, that also taught me a lot of different skills, a lot of different ways of working. So it was just, again, an incredible job. I just did everything. So we talked, like say, with the advice sales, we brought that into the company. And again, I worked with a great team. So that was 16 years of my journey was doing that. So coming from an agent then to a contact center manager. And then I did my sales and retentions manager job there too. So I learned a lot in that role. And then following that, I moved to a completely different industry, and that was doing purchasing. So I ended up being a purchasing manager for a technology company, and I learned a different element of it. So my customer was then my supplier. So I learned a lot about how a supplier, what they do, and obviously I was then their customer. So I learned it from that point of view. Within that time, that's when it was really quite difficult with import and exporting. So I had to learn that skill in depth because I was having to get stuff imported in, and it was really, really difficult. So it was more about learning how to do that as well as keeping the cost down, because the cost of all the equipment that we needed was a massive increase on it, as well as the increase of getting it across to where we needed it to be. So I had to keep my lean principle that I had learned from the insurance company, that I needed to make sure that are still saving the business money as well.
Mm-hmm.
So then following that, then I moved to a different company. I moved to retail. I went through and did a real-time analyst, which I did learn part of the real-time analyst role within another business that I've worked for. So again, that was a really good one, because again, it was learning of the offshores, ensuring that we had people where we needed people to be.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the business when it was at peak time, so you were looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of calls a day, and it wasn't just calls, it was other functions that the traffic was coming through to. And then my CCMA job then came about, and it literally, as soon as I saw it advertised, I knew that that was the job that I needed to be in. I think I applied, Kate, didn't I? Within,
Yeah.
I think it was like 20 minutes or something. I just knew that was the role that I needed to be in. That was the role that was so suited to me and my personality and the skills that I've got.
So what was it about the role that made you apply?
It was, I think it's the skills that was on the job description was so relevant to what I've learned. And it's only when you actually go through your CV, and the journey that I've been on has always been customer. So
Mm-hmm.
from the moment I started being a hairdresser, it was customer, that chat. And I think it's every single job that I've been on has been exactly the same. It's always been about that customer, whether it was the supplier, whether it was like a hairdressing, everything is the same. So it was just, I think it was more that, and being really a part of that community. That's what I wanted to do, because like you say, I have followed the CCMA and I have won things with the CCMA as well. So I just, as soon as I saw it, I knew that was the job, and I'm grateful that I got the job.
It's amazing. And I think when you talk about your background and the skills that you've gained through each of the roles that you've done throughout your career, from events planning to dealing with customers to actually understanding what it's like being that front line, doing the sales and the service, doing resource planning. So really understanding different areas of a contact center is so relevant to a lot of the conversations that we have every day. So I suppose that now you're in this role and you're talking to members, you just know it, and you can really relate to some of the challenges or some of the areas of focus that members are going through.
And that's one of the great things about it, is when I do get really excited. So when people do talk, I know I love it, because I can really help. So it's like the conversation that I am having. So if they do highlight something, I've sort of seen it and been there, so I can be very relevant to them. So if there is anything that they're potentially thinking, oh, we need to change this, it's so good, because I've got that experience as well. I've been there, and maybe I've been on that same type of journey. So it's just been really nice being able to share that and support them, really.
Lovely. It's great. So we talk about, working from the different type of organisations, you working from hairdressing to events organisations, working in insurance and then retail, and now coming to the CCMA. That's very different types of cultures within each of those organisations. What would you say is the most important thing for you in the culture for the place that you work?
For me, it's the family and the community feel. That's massive to me, because I think and especially I really like that everybody is. I think it doesn't matter what industry you work for. The skills and stuff that's needed, everybody can share that skill, can share whether it's gone well, but even most important, what hasn't gone well. So I think it's really, really good to hear stories that haven't gone so well, because potentially it might not have gone so well for one company, but then it could go well for another company. But it's just having that open chat to say, well, this didn't work for me. So I think making people feel like they can really open up and talk about it, I just think that is massive. And that community feel, that culture feel is something else. And because I think that's what will help people achieve the right outcome would be is to make sure that they feel that they can be open and share, and everybody sharing that best practice is massive.
No, I agree. And I think joining the CCMA myself, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And I find that it's really important for me as well. So I think we've got similar values. And that's why I think we're both quite passionate about connecting with the members and talking to them and telling about all the great stuff and connecting with each other, because and letting leaders know that they're not alone, and and to support them, which is ultimately what we're here to do.
Definitely, yeah. It's amazing because, like you say, it's just, and it's so nice, isn't it, when people do then probably take something from one of our meetings that we have, take something away, and then when they actually say, oh, that actually worked for us, I think that's lovely. It's lovely to see that somebody's really helped somebody, and I just think it's priceless, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk about helping others, but who would you say has inspired you on your journey? I don't know what stands out.
Oh, me personally, it's my family. So my family is like everything. So not just my family, it's my husband's family. I think I have probably made some bit tricky decisions in my career, and they've always had my back. So it's always been right, just go ahead and do it. And sometimes I probably had made the worst mistake, but when you look at it now and where I am now, potentially it wasn't the worst mistake. So I think my family is definitely the people who have inspired me, because again, when I moved to London, my poor dad, and me being a mummy myself now, that must have been horrendous for him. For somebody that didn't even have a mobile phone, didn't know what a mobile phone was, didn't have a bank account. I had probably £10 in my pocket, and I just went off. And going somewhere like London from a little town like Southport, I wouldn't know what my daughter or son did that to me. I don't know how I'd handle it. So, but again, they always had my back. As long as as long as I always went with my gut, they always stood by me. And whether that was right or wrong, it's definitely 100% my whole family unit, definitely.
I love that. And the thing is, though, whether it's the right or wrong mistake, you're only human, and you only learn from making mistakes.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? I think, and when you do have that backing, you think, okay, I'm just going to go for it then and learn from that. And that's all you can do, isn't it? It's just learning. Yeah. But then somehow, like say, anything I've ended up here. So really, that was then the right decision.
Yeah, it's made you the person that you are today. Ultimately, as long as you're happy, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Cool. So you've gone from an environment where working in contact centres, working face-to-face, and now you are 100% remote working, unless we have an event on. So what is your best remote working tip?
Staying connected. So it's massive. So even if it is just like a little 5 minutes, hi, or just little messages that I send you, Kate, just a little smiley face or just something, and then you don't feel alone. And I think with my job, I'm constantly speaking to people anyway, and I do it all by Teams. To have that face-to-face contact.
Yeah.
So when I do end up going to these events, I know that person. So it's going to be really familiar, and it's going to be lovely because we both really know each other because we've seen each other before. So I think definitely the biggest tip is that connection. Just even if it is just a 5 minutes, that's all that matters, because then you think, oh yeah, there's somebody out there. So yeah, that's my tip.
Yeah. It makes a difference, and I'm with you there. And I agree that being on camera and talking to members and putting faces to names, and we interact all day, every day, which is great. And our team is so close, and it's great because we're all there for each other and we help each other. But I think you're right. It's that we may be very busy, but we'll also make time for each other. It feel like doesn't feel like you're probably remote working, because we talk all day, every day anyway.
Yeah, and I think that is it. And it keeps you tight as a team as well, doesn't it? If you do have that time together, whether it is just a quick meeting or an hour meeting, it just makes our team stronger, doesn't it? Because we are seeing each other and we all know what we're all trying to achieve, and we're all achieving the same goal. I just think, yeah, definitely just that little 5 minutes or just to keep that connection so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. So I'm going to ask you some fast fire questions. I'm not sure whether you've been watching the Career Talks. I'd like to think that you have been. We're now going to some fast fire questions.
Okay,
so,
hit me.
Don't think about it. Just go with whatever it first comes to you.
Right.
And I think I know the answer to the first one. Favorite dessert?
Oh, Costco carrot cake.
Costco carrot cake.
That is a cake. That is the best cake in the whole wide world. I talk about it a lot to you and Lido. Costco carrot cake is the one.
Carrot cake.
Yeah.
Me too. Costco carrot cake. I love that. Night in or night out?
Oh, night out. I love a night out.
Do you?
Yeah, I love a night out. So yeah, I think even with kids, yeah, night out. It should be night in, really, shouldn't it? But
no, not at all. Whatever comes to you, whatever you like to do.
Yeah.
Favorite season?
Summer.
I'm with you on that one.
But the nights out.
But the nights out. Yeah. So nights out in the summer, not in the winter.
Carrot cake.
With a carrot cake at the end. Word that you hate the most?
Can't.
Oh, okay.
Good one. Okay. Yeah. I try and teach my kids the whole, well, I can't do it. Well, there is no such word as can't. So let's just try it. So yeah, can't is definitely the one.
I remember my mum saying that to me when I was little. There's no such word as can't.
Yeah. Well, I'm like that with mine now. They're like that. There is. Mum, we're teaching that in schools. Like, there's not. It's not.
And last one, tea or coffee?
Oh, nice Yorkshire cup of tea.
Yorkshire tea.
Yorkshire tea. It's got to be the old Yorkshire as well. Yeah, definitely tea for me.
A good brew.
Good brew. Yeah.
Good brew.
Builder's brew.
Laura, thank you so much for joining me today for Career Talk. If you've ever watched Career Talk, and like I say, which I hope you have, you'll know that we ask those that join us for one piece of advice. So I can't let you go without asking you your piece of advice that you would give to anyone working in a contact centre and looking to develop their career. What advice would you give them?
Just enjoy it. Enjoy your time. You spend so much time at work, and I think you just need to always enjoy it. And from a customer point of view, I think even if you're working on the phone, that little smile goes through that phone call. So I think you must enjoy every part of what you do. I think it's just massively important. So that's my advice.
I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you, Laura.
Oh, thanks.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you join me today. And it does feel like we are just having one of our usual 5 minutes as we do throughout the day, which is great as always. But normally we have a brew in hand. But thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we will see you all very soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.